There's some breaking news right now from the Department of Homeland Security. It seems that they are, and I'm quoting here in a statement that they just released, in accordance with the judge's ruling, meaning the judge in Washington state, the DHS has suspended any and all actions implementing the affected sections of the executive order entitled Protecting the Nation and foreign terrorist entry into the United States. So in other words...
Yeah, so what's happening here is that after the judge's ruling in Washington state from James Robart overnight putting a temporary halt to the president's immigration ban, these are the departments that were required to implement that ban, and they are now saying that they will comply with what the judge has ordered. And that, of course, is until potentially the next shoe falls here, which will be the filing of the appeal from the Department of Justice to overturn what the judge found last night. But that has not yet happened. But until then, we know that these departments, Department of Homeland Security, we just heard from the State Department about 5 minutes ago that they will comply with the finding of this judge in Washington state, which is nationwide. I
believe Ryan Nobles is in Washington and may have more for us here. Ryan, talk to us about what you're learning right there.
Well, Christy and Victor, a bit of what you guys are alluding to there. Basically, this is all the agencies of the federal government lining up and responding to this decision by the judge in Washington, effectively suspending the Trump executive order on travel from those 7 Muslim-majority countries. As you mentioned, we heard from the State Department not too long ago. Now it is the Department of Homeland Security. And they said basically in a statement that they've suspended all actions that they were taking to implement the executive order on banning travel from citizens from those 7 Muslim-majority nations into the United States, and the suspension of the refugee admittance program for 120 days. Now, the DHS statement does go even further, though, because they specifically point out that the Trump administration plans to file an appeal to this day, asking for an emergency order, basically undoing this order that was put in place by the judge in Washington state, and that the leaders of DHS still believe in the policy. They still believe that this is something that ultimately will keep Americans safe. So they seem prepared that if there is another court decision that then puts the executive order back in place to resume what they were doing in this extreme vetting program, as the president has called it many times. But I think it's important to point out here, Christy and Victor, that while the president himself has tweeted this morning somewhat calling into question the legitimacy of this judge and his decisions, his agencies, which do work at his pleasure and put his policies into place, are certainly respecting what this judge had to say, and they are halting this executive order and no longer putting it into place. But again, as we've said many times this morning, this is just the beginning of a lengthy court battle. At this stage, the executive order is not in place, but we could have a judge rule within a week after the DOJ files their appeal to this order that could reverse everything. So this is just could be the beginning of a back and forth that we could be dealing with for some time.
And the White House has vowed to appeal, so we're just waiting to see if we're going to hear from them today on this as well or not. Ryan Nobles, thank you so much. We appreciate it. We'll be right back.